Hi, it's Romy, Aries. Welcome to the channel. This is your September 2021 soul story. I hope this finds you well. If you've got your sun rising or your moon is in the sign, then you might find that this general reading just gives you a little bit of a heads up for the next few weeks. So we're into Virgo energy and we're going to open up your reading with the Queen of Swords. And I really have this feeling that for September, Aries, you're changing a default setting in your life, and that might be a little bit of an uncomfortable change. In fact, you might really have to go through this process of kind of wrenching yourself away from a dependency or a comfort zone. But what we're also doing by approaching things in this regard is we're diminishing the hold that something has over you that is really no longer serving you. Now, this can show up in a variety of different ways, but the energy guide of the Queen of Swords here has you in exactly the right mindset. She's focused, she's determined, she's a little bit detached even, and I think you need that in order to remain focused and clear about what is really the priority for you through the course of this month. Now, there's a whole series of energetic and emotional upgrades that are happening, and so in areas that you have been feeling overly stuck, this is a time where we're going to be putting a new protocol, a new strategy, a new routine in place, and that requires from you a level of diligence and research, almost even an aspect of like an experimentation to see how we're going to get the right balance for you moving forward. So I really like that you have the Queen of Swords on your side, because I think it's going to get you into the place where you are thinking in the right way in order to kind of really support this important forward movement and growth in your journey through the course of this month. Now, we are making our way in the beginning of September towards the new moon in Virgo, so it's going to be a beautiful moment to kind of cast out some new intentions. Now, the sun's trining with Uranus, Mars is trining with Pluto, and Venus trining with Jupiter, and this earth energy is really very nourishing, and there's the opportunity for some beautiful, rapid, positive change to come in around that new moon. You may well have quite an important decision or choice that's going to emerge for you. We can see really clearly the two paths that are coming into your awareness here, and of course feeling perhaps a little bit indecisive or torn even. But remember what we said, you know, this is about identifying where we are going to change that default setting, and so that does require a little bit of a leap of faith, and you're absorbing things really differently now. There's a much more increased sensitivity, and so we have to kind of almost allow a new natural order of things to come into being for you, and part of that's also going to be about boundaries. And so I feel this is also why you're perhaps a little bit split or having to come to a moment in time where you really think carefully. You know, that Queen of Swords is kind of careful consideration. You know, she's not impulsive, she's not rash, she's kind of holding you back a little bit to notice, to witness, to observe. And part of what also is going to be playing out for you through the course of this month and coming across all of the soul stories is this idea of energy contradiction. So what do I say that I want? What are the things that are in my heart? And where actually is my energy being pulled or being distracted? And more than ever, September's really going to be highlighting that for you, Aries, so you can get clear about, again, the changes that you need to make in order to kind of facilitate an increased level of balance within yourself. Of course, this month we're welcoming Libra season, we're welcoming the Equinox, which is why the emphasis around getting that balance in place for you is going to be so fundamentally important. And Virgo energy in that sixth house is wanting you to get the new routines in place so that you can kind of take care of business. You know, that Queen of Swords is very much like, let's take care of business here. And so we have to get the kind of foundational piece correct. So Eight of Swords coming in. What are your stress triggers, Aries? They're probably going to be highlighted to you throughout the month of September. Now, that doesn't have to be a bad thing, okay? This is not something to dread. This is something to say, all right, here is me being the witness and the observer of this pattern coming back in, or this innate feeling of wanting to avoid, wanting to dismiss, wanting to suppress, you know, not expressing your needs is not going to make them go away. In fact, they're going to get a whole lot louder. And so in sixth house energy, where we have a focus in and around our physicality, our well-being, how we're showing up, the energy exchange that is taking place is going to be really important for you. Energy exchange, particularly by way of those personal relationships in your life. And, you know, we talk about Libra season and relationship energy. It's not just romantic, Aries. This is across the board of all of the people that you come into contact with. Now, of course, you know, she's bound up here herself. And even with the Two of Swords, she's also putting herself in this kind of almost self-imposed moment, this pause. And I think perhaps you're doing that for an important reason, because if you are kind of allowing something to naturally start to evolve, to change, you need to see the dissolving or the letting go of something. To kind of really come to terms with it, you know, there's perhaps a little bit of a deeper dive that we need to take, and perhaps you need a little bit of space in order to do that. So withdrawing and kind of allowing that deep, nurturing, earthly medicine of Virgo season to support you is going to be really helpful as you make your way more deeply into the month of September, especially where you can start to really assess where these energy contradictions have you in a place that is kind of holding back some important progress right now. And I think it is going to come through quite sharply for you. So when that is revealed, Temperance energy says now's the time to make an adjustment. Now's the time to start to experiment. And I think there's almost like a quality of research required here. You know, she's looking really focused on the kind of alchemy of just getting the perfect balance here, a moderate approach. We don't want to go wildly changing absolutely everything in our life overnight, nor do we want to start clearing everything out so that we feel like there's nothing left and all of a sudden we realize there was perhaps something that we weren't quite ready to let go of, or it had more to teach us. So you need to find the middle ground this month. I think that's really, really important. There's a kind of a nuanced, intuitive like guidance that's going to be weaving its way all through the events and experiences that are going to be showing up for you this month, okay? And for me, Temperance is saying, okay, just adjust your energy here, adjust your energy there. And that's going to stop you from kind of crossing over your own boundaries, and also from not just immediately kind of defaulting back to that setting that you've got that you're ready to break away from, okay? It's really important to sort of witness and observe, then make an adjustment. Witness, observe, then make an adjustment. I think that's the thing that's going to be most important for you. Now, Temperance for me is always a little bit about divine timing as well. So what we might also be looking at is you having to temper a little bit, some impatience around something that you're seeking to see progressing a little bit faster than it may be. Now, let's also pay attention to the fact that Mercury is going to go retrograde at the end of this month. So we're going to be working in shadow from the 7th. It's going retrograde in air sign Libra. This is the third air sign. It's taken this backspin through the course of 2021, of course, in your 7th house of relationships. So there's a lot of mirroring, projection, a little bit of shadow work that's going to be cast up. And of course, in an air sign, it's all about communication. So on the shadow side, we're going to be dealing with misunderstandings, things being misconstrued, lost in translation, a little bit of confusion. On the light side, this is a beautiful time to return home inwards, back into that self-inquiry, reflective aspect of reconnecting to the one true source of certainty in your life, which is your relationship between you and your higher self, and starting to play with that relationship in a new way so that you're really starting to make important internal shifts that by the time we come out of retrograde, not just for Mercury, but with a lot of the other outer planets over the coming weeks, you're really going to be ready and poised and in a fantastic place to make some enormous leaps forward in your own growth, okay? So it feels important to be aware of that. Now, Venus in Libra right through to the 10th is bringing in this nice, harmonious, balanced, neutral approach. From the 10th onwards, she shifts into the sign of Scorpio, so things get a little more deep, a little more intense. And you are going to be seeking perhaps a bit more security. You've got your King of Pentacles coming in here, Earth sign, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, maybe somebody important in terms of the influence for September, Aries. But what I'm feeling is that perhaps that's bringing about a little more neediness for you, you know, really seeking to kind of bond or commit or have that sense of assurance from someone or something. It's at that moment where you start to feel that energy rising that I almost want to call you back into your Queen of Swords, because she's kind of keeping you focused and true to yourself and in an energy where you're not going to self-abandon and you're not going to start seeking external validation or things outside of you in order to fulfill that sense of a void or you know, an emotional need. Okay, now at the same time, it's also a recognition to observe what may or may not be actually delivering for some of your emotional needs. Because remember, our sense of security, all the energy that's kind of held in that root chakra for us, of course begins with what it is that we are feeling. And so again, even if you're looking from a level of abundance in terms of what's happening in your life, and looking to make improvements or adjustments in and around that, we also have this direct kind of lens in terms of what is going on in your heart space, because this is telling you everything that you need to know about where the flow of abundance is getting perhaps held up, or you're feeling a little bit stuck. Now, I also want to say I think this is really important, because you may have had a beautiful flow and then all of a sudden feel like you've got a bit of a jittery kind of stop-start thing going on in September. It is a beautiful time for a reset. It's almost like having a mini MOT to a certain extent. And so from this regard, you might also just get really clear on something that has actually been holding you up. And because you are moving out of that default setting, Aries, what you're able to start doing is clearing out the things like the toxins that are actually causing the issue. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a food, maybe it's an addictive, you know, thing that you keep kind of using as that emotional crutch, which is actually the very thing that's kind of getting in the way of you starting to feel more secure within yourself. But I have this warmth that comes in with Temperance and the King of Pentacles to your reading. And again, I think that's a nice balancing energy along with that air that's coming through with all of your swords here. So we have this kind of ability to think in ways that are going to be helpful and progressive for us, so that we can entertain the ideas of new protocols, new routines, new things that are going to really support the manifestation of what we want, at the same time as being like nurturing and kind of grounding towards ourselves by way of what is the medicine that I need in this moment, okay? And I think it's that aspect of being able to self-medicate that's going to be so important energetically for you, okay? And that may well deliver some very new thoughts and inspirations about how boundaries need to be put into place for you. So we have a couple of stress points to be aware of through September. On the 5th, just ahead of that new moon, so it is diluted a little bit, Venus is squaring Pluto. So you might have some power issues, control issues going on there. Just make sure that you don't add fuel to the fire. You know, if you come up against that, and then try to retaliate, or you're having a strong emotional response to it, you end up just perpetuating the same cycle. We also have Venus squaring Saturn on the 17th of the month. Again, sort of feeling like that hit in and around relationships and our money story, how we value ourselves, and feeling again a little bit stuck because perhaps the way we're being invited to change we don't like so much. You know, Saturn coming in with a little bit of a tougher lesson for us, and we're perhaps not so open to it at that moment. But your Hanged Man, again, showing me with this energy of Temperance, is like all things in good time, Aries. You know, we don't want to leap forward so fast that we kind of miss the opportunity to be really present and enjoy what's being offered to us through the course of this month. And particularly when we're into retrograde energies so deeply, there's an immediacy and a state of presence that's where we can find the most gold, you know. So trying to future-proof and kind of go too far out with some of our plans can actually kind of be almost counterintuitive to what we're really meant to be experiencing in the here and now. And so where you do feel stuck, because this is going to come up as we are upgrading, it's almost like, you know when the phones keep giving you those messages to kind of download the new version, and then you don't have enough space on your phone or your laptop. Is that just me? And then it's just like really problematic to actually get the upgrade, and then when it does happen, everything's changed and it's like really frustrating. So we've got a little bit of that kind of an energy, I feel, starting to emerge and permeate a little bit around the month of September for you. But in all honesty, you're almost overdue this upgrade, and actually once you kind of find your sea legs with it a little bit, I think you're never going to look back, and you're going to realize, like, how did I ever manage without this? And so what it's going to do for you emotionally, energetically, and just how it's going to start to change the way that you think, or the way that you start to express yourself, or how you are choosing to engage in the world right now, is actually given a sense of gusto and this kind of powerful momentum and this charge and energy. So be prepared for that starting to kind of build for you. But September in and of itself is a little bit of a more quiet, introspective time. It's the prelude to eclipse season, of course, that's going to kick off again from October onwards. And we have, a very interesting few weeks before the end of the year where it's going to be very loud, and a lot of energy shifts happening. And so your Knight of Swords here, a little bit preparatory, I feel. But what we're wanting to do in September more than anything, Aries, is get your foundations right, just get everything in check, so that you don't need to worry about, is there enough for me here? Am I going to run out? No, you're absolutely fine. There's more than enough of everything that you need. Now just get on with the task at hand. So doing all of that kind of background work behind the scenes is actually where you're going to really, really appreciate in the coming weeks. Okay, so you may well have an air sign, a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Of course, retrograde energies bring people back. There's a little bit more of a charged, aggressive approach coming in there. So someone being that bringer of news or delivery of messages for you that, again, I think could perhaps knock you out of balance or kilter a little bit. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative, by the way. It's just perhaps a little bit of a surprise, a little bit unexpected, and therefore, again, we just kind of have to find our feet again. Because I've got this Queen of Swords energy that's guiding you through this month, I really like that for you. I think she's going to keep you in line. I think she's going to keep you on track. So I don't see you losing yourself, and I don't see you getting overly lost in the distraction of anyone else either. But remember, when we talk about this energy contradiction, you are meant to really observe the moments that you do come out of your own safe harbor. And this is also going to show you what was a false harbor previously. It might be that you thought a specific person or a specific place was really your lighthouse, and as you sort of, it's almost like this month you're able to look at that energy directly in the eye, and what you're going to understand is if it is false, it's just going to feel like it's crumbling. And I really feel that that's going to help you in all areas. So if you're trying to figure out if someone or something is good for you through the course of this month, Aries, literally look at it right in the eye and tune into your energy. And if it just starts to feel like it dissolves and it crumbles and it's got no power over you, this is what I mean about the diminishment of the hold that it has over you. And very easily you're going to be able to let it go. I think this is really important. Now, we've got a full moon in the sign of Pisces coming in on the 20th of the month, of course, that 12th house for you. So there is a deep healing aspect to this full moon that's about release for you. The challenge here with the Seven of Wands, well, that full moon is in opposition to Mars, so there is a little bit of a temperamental, moody quality to it, and it's very mutable in nature in those final degrees of Pisces. So it is going to feel like it stirs things up a little bit, and you might be challenged because of the choices or decisions that you've made or are about to make, or even feeling that sense of wanting to let it go, and part of you still holding on. Remember, we're never meant to cling to anything, nor are we meant to run away from anything. We're meant to find that middle ground. And of course, the equinox energy coming in just after the full moon is going to be really helpful for you in order to kind of find that reset moment. Sun moves into Libra on the 22nd, and we invite autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere, spring equinox in the southern hemisphere. Mercury is going to square Pluto on that equinox, so it is going to feel quite intense just after that full moon in Pisces. So don't get me wrong, even though September is this kind of quiet, introspective time to kind of really, you know, get things in order, and become prepared and sort of get everything aligned for this new setting that you are really making in terms of a permanent shift. There's also this sense of being under pressure a little bit, or even feeling like you're having to justify or explain. You got to be careful when that surfaces for you again, because too much of sort of jumping into that energy is also going to make you self-abandon, okay? So just be aware of that. Now, at the same time, we have the asteroid goddess Vesta, also known as Hestia, moving into the sign of Scorpio. Of course, Vesta is that brightest star in the sky, and you know, she's the custodian of that beautiful inner flame that keeps guiding you forward. Now, in Scorpio, she gets really deep, you know, so the ability to be able to have those difficult conversations, to broach kind of taboo subjects, and to really start to understand some of the much more truthful aspects of what isn't working, you know, where you really need to understand where you have come away from that safe place within yourself, or how you need to make an adjustment, is going to be something that you'll be working with the goddess energy all the way through to November. And if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about how these goddess energies affect you personally with your own natal chart, I've got a report that I've just launched. You can check that out on the website. So Three of Wands coming in because you are meant to be kind of enjoying this leveling up, this energetic, emotional upgrade. It requires a level of new self-confidence. I see it emerging within you, Aries. I've got this belief that through September you're going to have opportunities that you get a kind of clear indication of are on their way, and it's a direct result of investment that you've made previously. Of course, retrogrades can invite us to revisit things that we've done to make them better, to learn something from them, maybe even revisit relationships or connections. People may be able to help us. There are blessings from the past, as well as those sometimes more surprising encounters that can kind of ruffle our feathers a little bit. Yeah, so I like that coming in, particularly for those of you who are wanting to start thinking about the future plans for things, especially as we have some of the energy that feels like it's holding you back a little bit. But at the same time, be prepared that even though there may be this aspect of the universe saying timing isn't quite right, it's almost like when the announcement is made, okay, now we're ready. I feel like you're so kind of consumed and caught up with something that feels quite enjoyable and meditative. Maybe you've even enjoyed the downtime. You know, you've sort of like, oh, okay, so I get to kind of enjoy a little bit of a change in terms of the work-life balance. And then all of a sudden something's going to get going and kind of catch you off guard or unaware. Not in a bad way, but I just feel like that preparation that you'll have done early on in the month is going to serve you well. So let's take a look and see how these oracle cards are going to be joining this conversation for us. Energy medicine. Okay, sensuality, devotion, celestial fertility, deep rest, right? Well, we have Venus in Scorpio, we have Vesta in Scorpio. You know, we have this kind of deeply sensual, magnetic energy that's coming through. But we're also talking about the energy medicine of Virgo, and especially in that 6th house. What do I need to do to take care of myself? What is my relationship right now spiritually? Am I actually enjoying the kind of ritual aspect of meditating or taking care of myself? Where do I need that sense of deep, profound rest? And maybe as well, if you are trying to make these important decisions, feeling stuck or feeling a little bit triggered stress-wise because of the choices that you're being invited to consider this month, you know, it's perhaps that rest time that you also need, which is also perhaps where there is a little bit of a rest or kind of a divine timing aspect that's coming in here to just help you figure out where some of these energy contradictions are kind of tripping you up a little bit, okay? It almost feels like that emphasis around the personal relationships as well is is inviting you to consider like who feels like medicine. Who feels like medicine, Aries? Who are the people in your life that you can go to and just always feel safe? Like you just know that their energy will hold you. They're not going to judge. They're not going to try to wrestle or meddle into what it is that's going on for you. They're simply there as that beautiful kind of sounding board. And I think that's going to be important for you through the course of this month. I think you're going to be seeking these people out, and I think the universe is likely to start delivering more people for you in that kind of a energy, because you're also changing some of your own default settings. So keep an eye out for that as well. From a more romantic perspective, I think things feel a little stop and start, but at the same time I feel resolutions can be found where deep conversations are able to take place. But remember, retrograde energy, we can get very, very mutable and changeable in our decisions and our thoughts. And I suppose that Two of Swords really is an indication that you might still be on the fence even as we come toward the end of the month. So your astrological card is Gemini, curiosity, intellect and network, and well, even more this mutability, this kind of changing polarity of sort of what you're feeling or kind of what's showing up for you through the course of September is just something to not get attached to. Yeah, your Queen of Swords is kind of giving you that real power and sense of clarity to say it's okay to kind of not be sort of swept up in that overwhelm, you know. And even if people almost accused you of being a little bit cold or a little bit detached, like, so be it. This is kind of for your own peace of mind and your own well-being right now, okay? I suppose I want to say careful about communication, because with that Queen of Swords you might have a little bit of a sharp tongue through the course of this month, Aries, and perhaps that's required, especially if you've got to assert some new boundaries for yourself, and kind of allow this feeling of stuckness to kind of move through. But you are going to be getting some really important epiphanies, because even as I sort of look at Gemini next to the Hanged Man here, it just feels like a spiritual moment of like, oh my goodness, and something very future focused, you know, so just like a lightning bolt idea that comes. Keep an eye out around that new moon, especially when the sun's trining with Uranus, you know. There might be a very strong psychic flash that gives you an opportunity to make a rapid adjustment and change for yourself, you know, with that Knight of Swords then coming. In fact, there's quite a strong Gemini vibe in your reading, so that might also be another sign of someone who's coming in or coming back that may be significant or has value for you. Okay, let's take a look at these crystal energies, Aries. What do we have? Aragonites, okay, initiation, and it's connected to the element of fire, which is of course your element. I like this for you. I mean, I feel like you are, with these upgrades taking place, kind of allowing yourself to graduate, to emerge into a completely different frequency. And like we said, with when these upgrades happen on our tech devices, it can feel a bit clunky at first, and we can feel like we don't know what the hell we're doing, what we're supposed to be doing, where anything is anymore. And every time you go try to look for something because you knew where it was, now it's been moved. So there's an adjustment time required with that. And again, even with the equinox, you know, these powerful earth shifts that happen during these beautiful times of the year do also require us to kind of just sit and process and observe how that energy is changing us, and let the new rhythm kind of settle a little bit before you make any impulse choices and decisions. But they're also very helpful to enable us to release as well. So Aries, this is a general reading for the month of September. If you'd like to join me for the extended version, we speak for another 20 minutes or so. I'm going to invite you to think about a question I might not have answered in the general spread. We will pull a couple of cards and cover that off for you. Now you can find the link for my extended readings in the description and the comment section underneath. It'll be over on my website, romywiser.com. It's a way to support my channel. And I appreciate you for doing so, and also just to get some extra insight and information. So let's just clarify this Queen of Swords energy for you coming through with the world. You are coming to that natural completion of a cycle here, but beautiful positive energy, and the King of Pentacles coming through again here. So it may well be a Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn energy, but it's also just about that sense of stability, I feel, coming in. Two of Cups. Focus in and around relationships here. Judgment with the Two of Swords. Okay, major choice and decision to make at a crossroads here. What is this connected with? Hierophant. Commitment. Learning. Ten of Wands. Really got you feeling a little bit stuck. Well, we need to go a little bit deeper into looking at this. Okay, Queen of Pentacles, Empress energy here. Three of Swords. I need you to be aware, like we'll look at this in the extended Aries, but I need you to be aware that what may feel like it's kind of a fait accompli, it's like there's a no. I don't want you to get too attached to that, because I just feel like during like retrograde season, like things can turn again, okay? So you got Ten of Swords, Page of Pentacles, Four of Wands coming in here. Quite a kind of cautious approach showing up with this Knight. We talked about this energy exchange happening and the need to improve it. Diminishing the hold that situations and people have over you. Knight of Swords coming through again there. King and Queen of Wands, interesting. High Priestess, one more. Ace of Pentacles, beautiful. Okay, Aries, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to wish you beautiful blessings for this month of September. If you're joining me for the extended, let's carry this conversation on and see what else we can discuss with you. You take good care. Bye for now.